Hey, hello. In this video, we are going to look at how do we design APIs using RAML and using the Anypoint Code Builder. So we'll start where we left. And for this here, in order to design an API, there are a couple of ways. Either you can use this mule icon in the activity bar and then click on design an API, or you could use a traditional way of doing things like and click on this hamburger file or sorry view, and we can use the command palette. So that's a default way of doing things. So either you can use this, or you can use a shortcut like Control Shift P or Command Shift P. Will open up the command palette and then just type in design, and I should be able to design it. It gives you a pop-up where where you can actually provide your project name. So you can just provide the project name, saying as American Flights API, and it is going to store in a local location, but you can just select the RAML specification, business group, and then click on create project. So it's going to create the new project for you. So you can view the status of this progress of creating this API in the status bar. And once your API is created, a couple of RAML files, a RAML file is created and exchange JSON. So you might be also asked you to trust the authors. You can just trust, and yes, I trust the authors, and you can just provide APIs. It gives you the sample American Flights API RAML file. So for this example, I'm using this self-paced fundamentals American Flights API itself, but you could use any RAML specifications feel like. So now let's see how do we add a RAML resource into this design. Now, in order to add a design, you just need to do the same way that you do it in your design center. Just add slash flights and then colon. It's going to add a resource. Now if you want to view your API console, you have this small icon over here, so you can click on API console, and you'll be able to view the API console endpoint. Now let's try to add RAML methods. So I'll just zoom a bit here to have a better view, and just going to click enter. Now when I add a custom resource, it doesn't seems to actually auto indent for you, so you might need to indent it manually. And you can then, if you want to add a method, you can use a control space. Can use a control space, then it is going to auto suggest or auto complete um, the options for you wherever your cursor position is. So yeah, I'm going to use get, and then once you added the get, then it auto indent automatically. So I added the RAML methods. It's the same way that we added it in the design center. So now you could see that in the API console, it's been the console has generated the documentations for you. So now we will try to add some query parameters. So add some query parameters, and you could also see that the documentation is nicely came along. So if I click on get, I should be able to see the documentation and click on try it in the console. So have this localhost 1991 instead of the entire mocking services URL, and if I click on send, it have the empty response. Now let's try to add some request and response to it. So for that, I'm going to use an existing fragment that is in the exchange. So in order to add existing fragment, you just need to use the command palette once again. So I'm going to use Control Shift P. So it opens up the command palette where I am going to add a fragment. So you have add fragment dependency from Exchange. I'm going to select it, and it asks us to choose the asset. So I'm just going to choose search for um, training, and if I search for training and click on enter, it's going to suggest a couple of trainings. So we need the both the data type and the example. So let's select the data type first. I've selected it, and I just need to select the version, so the latest version that I'm going to select, and it says the dependencies have been successfully added. Now in order to view your dependencies, you should be able to see the dependencies added here, exchange modules. And if I expand exchange modules, you have this American flight data type. So now it is like in design side, it's not you don't have that sequence of folders. It's all um, in the single line, so it's easier to add it. And if you want, we can also add another data type in a similar fashion. So let's go and add it, add fragment dependencies, and search for training, and you can use an example, so it will add the example as well over here. So you should be now able to see both the training file, data type, and example folders added. Yeah, so with that we can now use that resource in our application. So let's use it in our API. Okay, so I've just added few the types here. It's the same way that you can add it in the design center. Here you to use a control space if you want to do if you want some auto suggestions and all. And I've also added a sample response for the 200 status code, which gives you the American flight array. Okay, and if I click on test, it adds to the documentation nicely. And then you could actually test the scenarios as well. Okay, so now let's see how we can add our custom fragment into our application, into the Anypoint Code Builder. Okay, now in order to add a custom fragment, you can use this Explorer window, where you have an option to add a new folder. So let's add a new folder, and let's name the folder as in fact, I would like to add a folder over here. Add a folder, I'll just name it as examples, and inside the example folder I would like to add a new file, and I'll name that file as American flight example.raml. And in your American flight example.raml, you could actually so it's opened in the other screen, the other editor window, so where you can add the American RAML named example file manually, or you could pick that from the training American examples, whichever it is. So just pick that from here. So I'll just create a named example. Now I can use that in the American flight API RAML. Yep, so I've just added all the details for the input, for the ID. I've just added the output, and then I also create a no ID example and then use for the post. So I'm just not defining all the things in here, so please refer to the student fundamental self-paced class for self-paced documentation for all the things. It's clearly mentioned in that. I'm just creating to explain the Anypoint Code Builder part. And we also have the documentation for everything nice and clean, so output window like you see it in your design center as well. Okay, so some of the things here that you can notice folding and unfolding part that we have. So you also get the folding and unfolding for all your methods, and in your um, uh, the Explorer window that you have the outline as well. So if you click on outline, so this is a nice feature that I liked. So you can just click on outline and then click on um, slash flights or query parameters. It will point you to that, the cursor position will point to that location. So that's a very good feature. You also get that mini map that is not available in Design Center, so which helps you to scroll down pretty easily, and then just if you want to go to this place, yeah, you can use a mini map to do it. Also, it helps in the debugging the problem. So, for example, if I just add a extra letter for the get, which is error dot, so you should be able to see the problems right away there. You can click on view problem, and you have this um, pop-up for to give more explanation, or you could use a problem stack. Okay, you can actually use a problem stack to view the problems window, console window, to view your problems. So now in order to push your changes to your design center, you could actually use this source control option. So if you click on the source control, it gives you the changes which helps you to, I mean, which will indicate the overview of how many changes that you are currently have in your repository, and it helps you to merge your changes, stage your changes, etc. For example, if you want to view changes, you can just click on one of those files, and if you can just see, like you see it in the Git repository, you can see the changes that have been added newly. And if you want to add your changes into the stage, you can just click on plus button to make it to the stage changes. You can just click everything, so it will add to the staged changes. Then you can make a commit. Now in order to commit, you can just provide the commit message like pilot commit, and you can either click on commit, or you can also click on this check marks to commit the changes. And if you want to so it is now locally committed. Now if you need to push your changes as well, so you can just push your changes by clicking on the three buttons and then just click on push. So it will push the changes to the design center. Now you should be able to see that in your design center. So let me open the design center. Yeah, so it's a design center, and you can see this American Flights API has been added onto the project, onto your design center. Now we can publish that. You can even publish the changes from your Anypoint Code Builder. So let's see how we can publish it. So if you navigate back to the Anypoint Code Builder, then you can use the command palette once again. So I'm using Control Shift P once again over here to publish the changes. Then you can just say Publish API. So you can see Publish API specification from Exchange. You can select that, and the name of the API, yes, American Flights API. Artifact ID, you can just say American Flights API. Maybe if you want to make it lowercase, you can also do that, and then publish it. So you just need to publish a version 1.0.0. yeah, API set version v1, and that's it. So you just need to use a couple of enters and then provide the necessary details, and you'll be able to publish that to the Exchange. So now we can view the asset in your Exchange. So that's a root one, still publishing. Yeah, it's now published to Exchange. I'll just refresh the Exchange repository, and we can see that American Flights API has been published to Exchange. Okay, so now the API has been published to Exchange, so you will be able to view that in the Exchange. It's the same way that you do it from your design center. You could try and explore documentation of it, but if you go back to the Anypoint Code Builder, so now it has prompted us whether you want to start implementing the American Flight API. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to give no. I'll just provide those details in another video. So that's it. That's about designing your APIs using the Anypoint Code Builder. Thank you for watching.